reason most people never become recognizable has nothing to do with talent, intelligence, or opportunity, and everything to do with the fact that they've never clearly decided who they are and what they stand for. Recognition begins with identity. Until you define yourself with absolute clarity, the world has nothing solid to respond to. Confusion sends mixed signals. Certainty sends power. When you wake up each day without a clear identity, your actions are scattered, your energy is diluted, and your presence becomes forgettable. But when you decide deep in your core who you are, what you represent, and what standards you will live by, something shifts. Your posture changes, your voice changes, your decisions change. And the world starts responding differently because it always responds to certainty. Most people want to be seen, but they haven't done the inner work to become someone worth noticing. They chase recognition instead of building identity. Want applause without alignment. They want attention without intention. But recognition is not something you demand from life. It's something you earn by becoming congruent with your values. When your beliefs, words, and actions line up, you develop a presence that people feel before you ever speak. Identity is not what you say you are. It is what you consistently demonstrate when no one is watching. Once identity is clear, consistency becomes possible. Consistency is what turns potential into recognition. Anyone can show up once with intensity. Anyone can have a moment of brilliance. But the world doesn't remember moments, it remembers patterns. Consistency builds trust, and trust builds memorability. When people know what to expect from you, and it's always strong, always reliable, always aligned, you become a reference point. You become someone others measure against. That's how recognition is formed over time. Consistency is difficult because it requires discipline when emotion fades. Motivation comes and goes. Energy fluctuates. But consistency is a decision, not a feeling. It's the decision to show up even when you're tired, even when results are invisible, even when no one is paying attention. Every time you keep your word to yourself, you reinforce your identity. Every time you break it, you weaken it. Recognition is built on self-trust first. If you don't trust yourself, the world won't trust you either. Most people quit too early because they mistake silence for failure. They don't realize that silence is often the preparation stage. Roots grow before branches appear. When you remain consistent during the quiet seasons, you are building depth. And depth creates gravity. Gravity pulls attention without effort. People don't even know why they're drawn to you. They just are. That's the power of consistency aligned with identity. Recognition is also the natural byproduct of value and contribution. The world does not reward neediness. It rewards usefulness. When you focus on how to add value instead of how to get attention, everything changes. Value is what makes you irreplaceable. Value is what makes your name matter. Ask yourself not how can I be seen, but how can I serve at a higher level? How can I solve real problems? How can I improve lives? How can I bring clarity, strength, or results into the world? When you contribute consistently, recognition becomes inevitable. People talk about what helps them. They remember who made a difference. They return to those who deliver results. Contribution turns recognition into something organic instead of forced. You don't have to announce yourself when your impact speaks for you. The louder your contribution, the less noise you need to make. Many people fear contribution at a high level because it requires responsibility. When you help others, expectations rise. When you deliver value, standards increase. That pressure scares people, so they stay small, they stay inconsistent, they stay vague. But the ones who become recognizable accept responsibility as the price of impact. They understand that growth always comes with weight. And instead of avoiding it, they train for it. Mastery is what separates temporary attention from lasting recognition. So you want to be recognizable in a way that endures? You must commit to mastering your craft. Mastery takes time. It takes repetition. It takes humility. It requires you to be willing to be bad before you're good and good before you're great. Most people want visibility before mastery, but that path is dangerous. If attention comes before skill, pressure will expose weakness. If recognition arrives before readiness, it becomes a burden instead of a blessing. Those who last build mastery quietly. They sharpen their skills when no one is applauding. They study, practice, refine, and raise their standards behind the scenes. They understand that mastery creates confidence, and confidence creates presence. When you know your craft deeply, you don't need validation. You walk differently. You speak differently. You move with certainty. And that certainty is magnetic. Recognition sticks to those who are solid in their skills, solid in their values, solid in their execution. Trends fade, hype disappears, but mastery compounds. The deeper your mastery, the more resilient your recognition becomes. You stop being relevant for a moment and start being respected for a lifetime. Patience is the invisible force behind recognition. Most people underestimate how long it takes and overestimate what should happen quickly. They quit just before momentum begins. They assume that if recognition hasn't arrived yet, it never will. But recognition follows the law of compounding. Small, consistent actions repeated over time produce exponential results. The early stages feel slow because progress is internal before it becomes visible. Patience is not passive. It is disciplined persistence. It is staying committed without immediate reward. It is trusting the process while continuing to raise your standards. Those who develop patience develop staying power. And staying power is rare. Rare things are recognized. Discipline fuels patience. Discipline is choosing long-term respect over short-term validation. It is doing the work even when praise is absent. It is holding your standards when shortcuts are tempting. Discipline protects your identity and strengthens your consistency. Without discipline, talent fades. With discipline, ordinary effort becomes extraordinary over time. Becoming recognizable also means managing your energy. People remember how you make them feel more than what you say. Energy is part of your signature. When your energy is scattered, uncertain, or reactive, people sense it instantly. But when your energy is grounded, focused, and intentional, your presence becomes memorable. Energy follows identity. When you know who you are and why you're here, your energy stabilizes. Clarity amplifies energy. When your message is simple and repeatable, people associate you with something specific. Recognition thrives on specificity. The more clear your purpose, the more easily people remember you. Vagueness creates invisibility. Precision creates presence. Comparison is one of the fastest ways to dilute recognition. The moment you try to imitate someone else's path, you weaken your own signal. The world doesn't need another copy. It responds to authenticity sharpened by discipline. Your story, your experiences, your perspective, when expressed consistently, become your unique imprint. That imprint, repeated over time, becomes recognition. Recognition is not about being everywhere. It's about being aligned. It's about showing up the same way with the same standards, regardless of the room you're in. Alignment builds trust. Trust builds reputation. Reputation builds recognition. Execution is what ultimately trains the world how to see you. Intention means nothing without action. Desire means nothing without delivery. Every time you execute at a high level, you reinforce your identity. Every time you show up prepared, focused, and committed, you strengthen your signal. Over time, people associate your name with quality. And quality is unforgettable. Becoming recognizable is a process of becoming undeniable, not through force, not through noise, but through clarity, consistency, contribution, mastery, patience, and discipline practiced day after day. When you commit to these principles fully, recognition stops being something you chase and becomes something that follows you wherever you go.